Well, welcome back. ActionSA says it will propose new legislation aimed at incentivizing and protecting whistleblowers. It comes on the 4th anniversary of the murder of Gauteng Health Department official Babita Deokaran. She was assassinated outside her Winchester Hills home in the south of Johannesburg, not long after flagging dodgy multi-million rand payments linked to Thembisa Hospital. ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba joins us more for this conversation. Herman, this weekend marked, of course, 4 years since the assassination of Babita. The alleged gunmen are behind bars, but the masterminds, of course, remain unknown. You, as a party, have come forward drafting a private member's bill to strengthen whistleblower protection. Can you walk us through exactly what changes you are proposing and how this could have made a difference in Babita's case?
Well, firstly, thank you very much to Newzroom Afrika for giving us this opportunity. And let me also take the opportunity to greet your viewers. I think, Veronica, South Africa right now, it stands at a very, very good chance after the ANC loss of absolute majority in last year's elections. As you are aware, we've lost a lot of whistleblowers over the years, and we've witnessed this pervasive level of corruption with no consequences to those behind this corruption. We as ActionSA were really very pleased when our members of parliament proposed to us to really bring this piece of legislation in the system to ensure that we must have laws in this country where we don't see any reason why any political party would object to this. Obviously, as I said earlier on, with the ANC losing power, it's an ideal opportunity for all the parties in parliament to support this piece of legislation so that we can incentivize whistleblowers to come forward. What we are proposing to say, anyone who's aware of corrupt activity, please come forward, and in this piece of legislation, we are going to propose that a certain percentage of the proceeds of that crime, if obviously found and found to really be credible, someone must be rewarded. But over and above that, there has to really be protection for the whistleblowers themselves. But also, what we'd like to see is also to strengthen our laws regarding cases of corruption, where there has to really be minimum sentence of 15 years jail without any chance of corruption, regardless of the amount stolen. Because whether you steal 500,000 or you steal 5 million rands of public money, you are stealing public money. So we have to really be unsympathetic as a country towards these corrupt activities we've experienced over the last 30 years. So we are excited as ActionSA with our members of parliament coming out with this piece of legislation. Obviously, as you're aware, it's not something that can happen overnight, but the process has already begun. So obviously over the next few months, up to a year to 18 months, we hope by the time we get to the 8th parliament that this piece of legislation will be in place.
Yeah, and you've mentioned, of course, rewards. You've also mentioned protection. We often know that when whistleblowers come forward, their lives are turned upside down. And in the case of Babita, they often do this at the very risk of the real lives to them. So in your case, what are just the biggest gaps in South Africa's current whistleblowing protection system?
Well, what is actually creating a problem right now is the capture of our entire criminal justice system, as indicated by General Mkhwanazi, 5-6 weeks ago. I think this is real. What General Mkhwanazi brought to our attention is, yes, we accept that at the moment there are allegations and they're going to really be interrogated, but I can tell you, I happened to serve the people of Johannesburg for 3 years, in 2016 to 2019 as executive mayor. during that period uncovered 35 billion rands of cases of fraud and corruption involving senior the members of our political elite. And unfortunately, because of the capture of our criminal justice system, even up to today, I'm not aware of anyone, single one of them, ever charged. And some of the cases, I think out of the 600 cases, 60 of them were as clear as daylight. You did not need any professional prosecutor to prosecute these cases, but there was reluctance of our prosecuting authority to prosecute these cases until I left. And I tried to follow these cases up. I'm still trying right now. Unfortunately, we're not getting cooperation from our criminal justice system, particularly the NPA in this particular matter, because the cases we presented when I was the mayor, those cases were already clear, the investigations done. It was just a question of the prosecution of the people involved. But unfortunately, up to today, because of this capture of our criminal justice system, these cases have not really seen the day of light in a court of law. But I'm excited, I'm convinced with the loss of absolute power in Parliament, we are challenging all the parties in Parliament. Let us bring laws that can obviously free our criminal justice system so that all those people who have been stealing public monies over many years, they must be brought to book.
But I mean, South Africans have heard promises before, commissions, reports, new laws, yet corruption persists. Why should the public believe that ActionSA's proposal will be any different?
Look, I think, Veronica, remember ANC had absolute majority for many years. They will protect Nkandla, the matter, using the parliamentary majority. They will protect US dollars under mattresses and sofas and use their majority to prevent this. Unfortunately, or fortunately for us now, as South Africa, that majority is gone. It is now up to all the political parties in Parliament to ensure that cases like this, when they come before Parliament, the ANC cannot really have the majority on their own to block these cases from being taken forward. So I can assure people of South Africa that we are on the right path as a country, and we have to really thank our voters for ensuring that no single political party going forward can actually govern this country without taking accountability to society. And now we have to, at the same time, ask all the parties in the GNU to say, please, you are in this GNU not to really continue with corruption or ANC policies. What you do, you've got to fight for people of South Africa, put South Africa first. So we hope the GNU partners, who are the partners to ANC, as much as we call them GNU, what we've experienced in the year that they've been in government is total disunity. But we hope and pray that when it comes to cases of corruption, not to really support the ANC with corrupt activities.
Yeah, and we know that whistleblowing protection, it's not just about legislation, it's about building a culture of accountability, specifically in state institutions. Do you think a new law alone can change that culture, specifically talking to South Africa and the rampant crime and corruption we've seen?
You see, corruption or crime anywhere in the world, it happens where you have the breakdown of the rule of law. There are countries much worse in terms of their economic activity than South Africa. But you look at the level of crime in those countries. Why? Because there are consequences. South Africa is not only suffering today from corruption only. We're the mega capital of the world, we're the rape capital of the world because of the collapse or the capture of our criminal justice system. Once people can actually see that as government, we're serious about punishment and serious consequences for anyone who breaks the law, you will see over the years it'll subside substantially. But for as long as there are no consequences, unfortunately, there is an incentive for politicians to get involved in politics so that they can steal public monies.
Yeah. And finally, since we are speaking about government accountability, where do we stand on the Lily Mine tragedy? Nearly a decade later, we know that those families are still waiting for justice and closure.
You know, Veronica, you talk into me with something that breaks my heart. It makes me feel every time. Tomorrow, as you are aware, I'm taking our members of parliament to go and meet the family and take them to the mine. Unfortunately, the mine business rescue practitioners refused us entry into the mine, but we'll go to the gates, we'll have the prayers there. But obviously, the whole idea is to take our members of parliament because we need them to engage strongly in parliament, knowing exactly. I want them for the first time because majority of them, with the exception of Lerato Ngobeni, the rest of our parliamentarians have never really met the families. They don't really know where this mine is. So I'm going to be spending 2 days with them to engage with the family. There are obviously strategic plans I cannot really share at this point in time. If you don't mind, I think let me engage the family tomorrow, particularly on Tuesday morning, when our members of parliament, we're going to take them into confidence so that they understand the brutality of mine management, to understand the brutality of our criminal justice system. They understand the brutality of the Department of Minerals and Energy, who have really been complicit in the suffering of these families, because those families did not only lose their loved ones just over 9 years ago. For the last 6 years, they've been camping outside the mine, a kilometer away from there, and they're not prepared to go back home. It's a very, very painful. It's honestly, for me as a human being, it's one of the most painful experience ever. More especially in a democratic dispensation. I know we used to lose people during apartheid. It used to hurt us. And I never thought it would happen under a new democratic government, a government elected by the very same poor black people who put them into power, to let them actually suffer in this manner. And what is even more disappointing, where is the South African Human Rights Commission? I've reported this matter to them to get the invitation. They don't even have the courtesy to acknowledge receipt of all the issues I'm bringing to the attention, that the human rights of our fellow South Africans, for you as a Chapter 9 institution, it's your responsibility for your intervention. But talk about an illegal foreigner who's here selling drugs to our people or dealing in money laundering, bringing counterfeit goods. You talk about it, the South African Human Rights Commission will be the first ones to start really calling you names and calling us to order. And these are things that I'm asking South Africans. We are not going to be silenced about actually dealing with cases of corruption and human rights abuse.
Yeah.
This case of Lily Mine, it's one of the most brutal human rights violation of our people since the dawn of our democracy.
Yeah, well, thank you for your time. That was ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba.